What's going on, guys? Omar here with 68 Charge Garage. Welcome back to the page. So on this episode, we're going to continue the wiring for the Hemi engine as well as working on the Vintage Air. I'm going to try to get everything installed on the Vintage Air and hopefully we can get it started as well. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get started. I'll show you what I've done so far. So in my last episode, I ended up installing the shifter plate and got the seam sealer and all that stuff. And I also went ahead and installed the Vintage Air behind the dash just to see how much room I was going to have. I did end up drilling the holes and then piloting the hoses that are going to go through there. The ones on the inside are actually for the AC and the ones on the closer to the outside are for the heater. And let me show you what it looks like on the inner fender well on the outside. So the hoses are routed through here and they're supposed to go in over here on the side of the fender well. It does say here that these are going to be the ones for the AC and then these two are for the heater. But I'm actually debating whether or not I should route these right here over to this plate over here, or if I should just drill a couple of holes right here. So reason being, on a modern Hemi, the heater lines are going to go through the back as opposed to the front in an older motor. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and install everything the way it's supposed to go down here. And then I can always just take it off if I don't use it. And then just drill the new pilot holes over here where those little holes are. So I did a little bit of work over here. I went ahead and installed the condenser kit as well as the dryer in there. On this end, I'm only going to be using the AC lines and I'm going to go ahead and delete these because like I mentioned earlier, it makes no sense to have the hoses come all the way from the back of the firewall, go through here and go all the way back to the firewall. So what I did is, I don't know if you can see it, but I ended up putting two holes right there. On this end, you can see what I ended up doing. There are the AC lines right here going to the back. And like I said, the hard lines on the left, I'm going to delete. And these, I'm just gonna route through those holes that I just did. I did get some grommets from Vintage Air. So on the back end, I still need to connect the heater lines. I'm gonna wait on that for a little bit since we're still doing wiring. On this end, I ended up putting all the cooler lines. So what I ended up doing is instead of going across the engine, since technically on the old Mopars, the AC compressor would be somewhere right here, and on this engine, it's down at the bottom. I just routed it through the front, and so there you can see that. I put the service ports right here and right there. That way you can see both of them at the same time while you're servicing the AC. But on this end, they're pretty much connected and ready to go and completely out of the engine bay. So it's gonna make the engine look a little bit better, I think. I just finished putting on the hoses, both the top and the bottom. What I ended up doing for the top one is I went with Gates 22039, and I did have to cut in on both ends, but at least the engine side was 1.75 and then this side was 1.5, so I was able to make it fit just right. And then for the bottom, what I ended up doing is I actually went with a 2021 Challenger top and bottom, and then I just cut them and spliced them together and they seem to work just fine. Here's another view from the bottom. I ended up just splicing it and cutting it with the coupler right there, putting it together with the coupler, and then everything was stock from this end. So from here to here was the original bottom hose, and then from here to here was the top hose that I was able to get to work. And it does move pretty freely. It's barely touching the K-frame, but it actually moves around. So I think it should be fine. So I'm pretty excited to put some coolant in this car. Right now what I'm doing is I have a reservoir for the power steering pump. It's gonna go right here, but as you can see, it doesn't reach. So what I ended up doing is I went over to Lowe's and got a strip of aluminum that I'm actually already pre-cut there, and I have where I'm gonna cut it, and then I'm gonna be able to just make a bracket and put it on the fender well. So that's where I'm at right now, guys. I apologize for not recording too much, but WAM is closed and I have to have the car ready in a couple of weeks. On this end, I finally finished up all the wiring. I was able to make a hole big enough and found a grommet that I could put the wiring through. So there's that, and then on this side, I ended up putting the battery as well. On this end, you can see the battery come out just like a brand new OEM car. And then over here on this end, you can see the battery coming out through here. I went ahead and put a little bit of black lumen there, so That way it's hitting whenever the car's back together. As far as the PCM, I was able to put it on this end over here. It's bolted on, and this is actually pretty free and doesn't touch anything, so it's gonna work out really well. The next thing I need to do is just put on this side of the connector and then try to figure out where everything's gonna go so that it is out of the way. What's going on, guys? Sorry I haven't been recording much. I've been trying to just pretty much get this car done, so I've done a lot that I haven't filmed. Recently, I just was able to get the car started. I'll put the video of that in a little bit. And then I was able to get the ignition taken care of, as well as the safety clutch pedal. So now whenever I do this, the car will turn on. There, it will not turn on. So I got that taken care of. Right now, I just pretty much have a mess with the old wiring I did about 15 years ago. So I'm just gonna clean everything up and make sure it's done the proper and the right way. I pretty much finished cleaning everything up. So everything's here is gonna go to the dash. There was about an extra 1.5 feet of wires that I didn't need, so it was very convoluted back there. So now it looks a little bit better, a little bit cleaner. Same thing for this side over here. The only exposed wires that I have so far are the ones that are going to be attached to this Dakota Digital control box. So I can start putting in the Dakota Digital dash now, which is going to be awesome. It's been a pretty long journey, but pretty much, yeah, we're going to be able to go to WAM this weekend. I had a little gremlin that I ended up finding and was able to turn it on. I got off work around 8:30, or got home from work around 8:30 today. And so it's probably about 11 o'clock, so I hope the neighbors don't mind. But I was able to take it for a quick test drive. Everything seems to be working just fine and ready to go to WAM this weekend. It's gonna be awesome. I was a little bit worried, but the only thing I'm leaking is leftover transmission fluid from the radiator, because this car was had a 727. And so I removed that, put the TKX, and there was a little bit of residue left over. You can kind of see it right there. But other than that, the car is ready to go. I just need a little filter for right here. Figure that stuff out. And then just put the Dakota Digital and hooked all that up, because right now everything's set up. And then I also have to wire the, the vintage air, and I'm gonna be able to have air. So hopefully I can do that on Thursday and then Friday morning, and then I'll be able and ready to go to WAM this weekend on this car, which is going to be freaking awesome. So right now I'm driving up to Staples, Texas. Found the person that's going to be able to do the exhaust today, and tomorrow we're going to WAM over in Dallas, Texas. So I'm pretty excited about that. Catch you all later. I got the car done literally yesterday, and heading over to Dallas today for Texas Motor Speedway for WAM, We Are Mopar. Looking forward to it, and I'll show you everything there. We've got a nice little sled set in the back. Looking forward to this car show. What's going on, guys? 68 Charger here with my buddy Brian Garcia Torado. He's going to get to test drive the Charger with the new TKX 5-speed and 5.7 Hemi. Ready, buddy?
I'm ready. All right, I've been waiting for this day since we talked about putting the Hemi in this transmission in this car. So I'm pretty stoked right now. So I'm gonna go for a spin.
All right.
Let's go.
right, guys, we're here with Brian Toronto. We're about to do a lap around Texas Motor Speedway. So Brian's gonna show me what it's all about. I'm gonna be recording this, so stay tuned.
Ready?
Yeah, let's do it. That was awesome, man. I think it's going to be 30 miles an hour.
How is it 30 miles an hour?
And right here, guys, this is where we drop the hammer. So we just finished doing the laps for vets. It was freaking awesome because I was able to pretty much go full speed in the Charger around the track. Like, I think we did like 3 or 4 laps, which is really freaking cool. Little problem I ran into though is one of my coolant lines that I'm running through the inner fender actually rubbed against the tire because I forgot to zip tie it since I was just really good here, and I ended up busting it. So I ended up busting it. So luckily I have enough hose to be able to just go from one end of the engine to the other. And I'm about to wrap this up and be good to go. So we just finished off with WAM right now. Everyone's fixing to go home. I had a really good time helping out Toronto Racing Team do all those ride-alongs. That's pretty much what I ended up doing today, and was able to ride my car around the track, which was freaking awesome. But anyway, guys, this was pretty much the journey or the end goal from getting my car ready with the Hemi and everything. So here we are.